as well, of course. Barrera, you know, a tremendous ring general, a stiff punching fighter as well. You know what, that sounds rather like a description of Jim Watt in his championship days. But Jim, you're calling the fight for us obviously on Sky Box Office at the weekend. But why is this one, looking ahead to it, why is it so difficult to call?
Well, I think all the reasons it's difficult to call are wrapped around Barrera. I mean, we know he's an exceptional fighter. He's been an exceptional fighter for years. But he's now 35. He's not a lightweight. He hasn't beaten a class opponent for 2.5 years. The last 2 big fights he was in, he lost both of those. And what worried me about him, halfway through those fights, when he knew he was losing, he didn't have the fire to turn things around. He sort of accepted defeat halfway through. So we know he's not the fighter he used to be. So the timing is perfect. But what we don't know is, what does he have left? And he's been such an exceptional fighter, there might be enough left in the tank to deal with an inexperienced Amir Khan who's still learning the job. Barrera knows the job outside and Amir Khan is learning the job. That is the big question.
Yeah, I mean, you say Barrera maybe isn't at his absolute peak, but he's still mixing an elite world class, you know, fighting the likes of Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez. And they're still competitive enough fights, aren't they? I mean, how do you think Amir, and we've seen him in the build-up, look a little bit sheepish, a little bit serious. How do you think he's coping with all the razzmatazz of the very biggest stage? Because this is pretty much what this is now.
Yeah, well, I would worry about Amir if he wasn't looking nervous. I mean, this is the biggest night of his life. This is a level he's only dreamed about over the years of performing at. It's wonderful that it's over in this country. But Amir, his talent is not in question. He's good enough at this stage in both of the careers. He's a fighter on the way up. Barrera obviously is a fighter on the way down. There are no doubts of Amir's talent. Unfortunately, I hate to keep bringing it up, but there are always question marks over his punch resistance. He's been shaken up badly several times. He's been blasted out already, so we don't know. He's not going to go 12 rounds with Barrera without getting caught in the chin, sooner or later, and possibly several times. So the big question is, if he can take Barrera's power, I think he can go into winning points.
That's what I was going to say. Barrera will connect. The one thing we know about him, he will fire punches back. That is going to test Amir Khan's defence. And you know, even if you do work hard in a defence, as they have done with Freddie Roach out in the wild card, Jim, you know, isn't just, if you haven't got a strong chin, there's nothing much you can really do to correct it?
Well, there are things you can learn how to take punches. You can also learn how not to get hit in the first place. So I think Freddie's plan will be to be careful for a couple of rounds, but get rounds in the bank. He can't start slowly. He must get into the fight early. He must win the early rounds, and he can do that at long range. But it's just that we know Barrera is so good that we know he's going to get close. Sooner or later, it may be sooner, it may be later, but he's going to get close and he's going to catch Amir on the chin. We also have to remember about 8 years ago or so, Barrera completely changed his style to deal with Hamed, and he became a real ring general. He's got every trick up his sleeve. The other question again is, has he thought up something else at the age of 35? Is he going to again come out? I mean, he shocked everyone with that performance, the way he boxed. Does he have another plan, something else up his sleeve? He's going to shock us all again tomorrow night? We don't know. I mean, the man, we shouldn't be surprised at anything he can achieve, because he's been such an exceptional fighter.
But can we safely say this is an acid test for Amir Khan? If he does come through this and does win, he has proved a point, and we can maybe look at that Bradis Prescott defeat last September and think, well, maybe that was a one-off, and maybe he does now. He has proved he has the credentials to go on and do what you did and win a world lightweight crown. Yeah,
I fully expect it. When Amir turned pro, I expected him to win a world title. Then obviously the Bradis Prescott thing put doubts in our mind. But you also have to remember he's a young kid as well. He still has to mature, and with maturity comes strength. So if you learn how to take a punch, you can build up neck muscles as well to take the impact of punches. There are things you can do. You can't turn around, a weak chin into a strong chin, but it's not necessary it has a weak chin. Some of the punches that have shaken him have caught him high on the head, and anyone can be shaken with punches caught high in the head. So there's a lot of pluses too. We also have to remember when Amir hit the floor with Prescott, I mean, most fighters in that position would never have got up. Within seconds, he was back on his feet again, showing the referee that he wanted to continue. So there's loads of spirit there, nothing wrong with his heart, and all the problems he has can be addressed, and I'm hoping that Freddie Roach has addressed them anyway.
Just on the subject of Freddie Roach briefly, quite a curious comment, a surprising comment when he said that Amir Khan's career would be finished if he didn't win this fight. Do you worry that he's put a little bit too much pressure on Amir?
I got to say, I mean, I've got so much time and admiration for Freddie Roach. I was surprised they said that, because I look at it this: if Amir has a tremendous fight with Barrera and loses on points, his stock will not be dented in the slightest. They can bring him back again. because he's fought at the top level. The big worry, obviously, if he gets blasted out again, if that happens, it's going to be very difficult to come back from. But no, a points defeat wouldn't harm him greatly in a great fight with Barrera. I think it would probably add to his reputation.
So just finally, Jim, there are various scenarios, obviously. If you had to pick one out of all of them, what would that be?
If I had as much confidence in Amir's chin as I have in his abilities, I would say definitely at this stage of the career, Amir can on points. But I think he's good enough, he's quick enough, everything, all the talent in the world to win this in points. But the big question is, when Barrera catches him on the chin, is he going to take those punches? If he can take Barrera's power, who remember is not a lightweight, then he can win in points.
Thanks very much, Jim. Yep, fascinating comments. Yeah, all the experts here, I have to say, that I've spoken to are very much split on what they think the outcome of this fight will be. But we could